Hello, hello, Texas Teacher here once again, bringing you a little discussion about video games. I'm going to do this in multiple parts, but this is just the one I wanted to do this week. What makes a good game for you? What makes you want to run out and pick up a game? Is it a continuation of a game you played as a kid? Is it because of action? Is it because of what type of game it is? Mine is a little different. I pick up games more often than not to tell me a story. I think that's why I go for games like The Witcher. Great story to that one. And especially because your choices influence how that game ends. There was a game back on the PlayStation 2, Deus Ex. One of my favorite games of all time. I know I beat the game at least 20 times. All the way through. And I don't think it was ever exactly the same for me. There were games like Fable that came out when I first got into gaming. And that's one where your personal choices not only reflect in the story itself, they reflect on your character. Where too many bad things you do cause you to sprout horns and fire to come up around you, and your eyes to become red and evil. That to me, I love stories like that. Like right now in my inventory of games, I've got The Witcher 3, which I mentioned, BioShock. One of the greatest stories to me in modern video games. What would happen if there were no rules? If there was no morality directing science and everything else? How different would things be? Fallout 4. Well, not the best story. A story of a man out of time hunting for the last thing he has left of his family. Some of the other games I've got may not have that traditional story element like what I just described. For example, Call of Duty. Now, I'm going to argue, especially, pardon me, I had to move a little bit, with Infinite Warfare, the story to that game is incredibly good. Now, my other one, Black Ops 3, the story, yeah, might be a little lacking. However, it's still got a story. Now, I don't buy those games specifically for the story. With Infinite Warfare, that was a happy coincidence. With Black Ops 3, I got it for the multiplayer. And sometimes you don't want a story. Sometimes you just want an experience. You want something to just clear your mind and to relax while you do it. And for me, multiplayer does that a lot of the time. Yeah, I'm testing myself against other players, but there's no story to it. It's just shoot, kill, repeat. And to me, I've got games in three categories. I've got those relaxation type games. I've got games of the story. And then I have games where you create the story. And that to me is like Minecraft. And to a degree, No Man's Sky. And even this one will kind of throw people off, I'm sure. Skyrim. To me, Skyrim is one of those types of games because you pick your character, and while you have a story to move through, your backstory and the way your character acts is all based on you. So that's one of the reasons I buy games. I buy games to either relax, I buy games for a story, or I buy games to create a story, almost like writing a story from a book. And I love that. That's why coming up, Mass Effect Andromeda is one of the games that really is intriguing me the most, because Mass Effect, God, does it know how to tell a damn story, with the exception of the last 30 minutes of Part 3. Sorry, it sucked. I've never played Mass Effect for the multiplayer. I had never once touched it. I've never touched BioShock for the multiplayer. Never once. But I absolutely love a good damn story. And if it's a good story, I will spend dozens, if not, I know with The Witcher, I spent 30 hours at least. Oh, excuse me just a sec. Sorry. But that's why I got into games. Because to me, especially with the PlayStation, when I got into PlayStations, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, and PlayStation 4. Hold on. Excuse me. Allergies are bad here in Texas today. But I got into games with those consoles to tell me a story. Now, earlier on, it was all about what could I do with them. For example, on the GameCube, we had my family had a James Bond game. And we didn't get that for the story. Excuse me. We got that for multiplayer, and because you use James Bond gadgets and guns to kill lots of people, or especially family members. We used to have a very favorite game of ours where we would go out of our way to plant mines everywhere and basically make an obstacle course of, can you get through these bombs? And I love that. But nowadays, if I'm sitting down to play a game, I'm either doing it for the channel or I'm doing it for me. And I don't want a boring ass game. I want a story. And like I said, if I don't make one for myself, I want a good damn story to be told to me. And there's some games that just do not do a good job of that to me. Now, I have been told, I haven't got to play it myself, I have been told that Breath of the Wild tells one hell of a story. So I'm kind of, I'm not going to do it right now, but I can easily see myself picking up a Switch within the next, well, before the end of the year. Just because, even for as simple as it was, Mario told a story, and a good story at that. Legend of Zelda has always told a good story to me. Now, I haven't played some of the bigger ones. I always played the GBA titles. Legend of Oracle of Seasons, Oracle of Ages. Those were my two favorites. And the Game Boy Advance, to me, was a console, or even though it's a handheld console, it still, to me, is a handheld that told some damn fine stories. Two of the greatest Game Boy Advance games of all time. Golden Sun and Golden Sun The Lost Age. That series was what got me into video game stories. I had that before I ever had a PlayStation, before I ever had a GameCube. And I love a good story. Now let me know in the comments, let me know down in the comments, what attracts you to a game? What causes you to pick one up? What causes you to start playing one and to stick with it? This has been the Texas Teacher for video game discussion. Y'all have a great day. Class is dismissed.